Wow, this is one of the most beautiful signs I've seen my whole trip. Don't Californicate Idaho, I would presume. So, I've never spent a lot of time in California, but I would imagine it's probably Seattle on steroids, right? I talked extensively on this channel about how in Seattle we love to wave our pride flags, but when it comes to actually practicing it in our everyday lives, in our social circles, our workplaces, our family lives, not so much, right? I had some drama with my family earlier this year, actually. My dad is conservative, but at the same time, he lives around a lot of liberals, so he doesn't support differences in sexuality, but at the same time, he's got the influence of not accepting people for who they are as well. My mom and I had argued about my not having children, and you may have noticed I lost a lot of weight. I've since gained back some of it, and part of the reason I lost about 20 pounds was my mom, we had talked about some other upsetting things in my life, and my mom kind of blamed it on the fact that I wasn't leading a traditional life and giving her some grandchildren, and she was upset about that. And so I decided to start losing weight. I called it a hunger strike at the time, and I had lost 10-20 pounds, and I threatened to continue until I died, unless we could talk about it, because my mom would fly off the handles every time this subject even came up. And it was very one-sided. Had she just listened for 10 minutes, it could have been a whole different story. And so after I lost 20 pounds and I had threatened to continue, what was really interesting was that 2 years ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, when I switched my car insurance policy, I discovered that I could also get a term life insurance policy, and it hardly would add to the cost because you get a discount for the combination. And I looked at it, and the policy was almost 2 years old, and I was like, gee, I could starve myself to death and the policy is going to pay out. And last year I had such a beautiful time at the Desert Botanical Garden that I changed the beneficiary of that policy to the Desert Botanical Garden because my family and I had disagreed so much. And I threatened to starve myself to death, and unless my mom would even talk about this. And eventually, after she got very concerned, it got the conversation going, and at least we're on speaking terms about it, and then I started eating again. So that was one of the most beautiful things I ever did, both for myself and to get my family involved in the discussion. But unfortunately, California, they love to wave those pride flags, but actually practicing it, right. All right. That was a beautiful sight.